Good morning. Yes, this year, vinyl overtook CDs when it came to physical music sales for the first time in 35 years. But of course, it's streaming that's the main way songs earn money for artists, for record labels and for publishers. And last year, the Digital Culture, Media and Sports Committee called for an inquiry into the economics of music streaming. In November, the Competition and Markets Authority said there was no case for intervening in the UK music industry. Let's talk to Kevin Brennan, who's the Labour MP for Cardiff West and a member of that DCMS committee. Kevin, good morning.
Morning.
What then are the main issues for musicians and songwriters?
Well, I think most people in the music industry, it's said, are poorer than you think, except for those who are richer than you can imagine. And the truth is, lots and lots of songwriters and musicians are not really able to make much of a living out of streaming. Three reasons, really. One, as featured artists, the people whose name you see on the record, they're tied to very old contracts that don't reflect the streaming era, reflect an era actually when vinyl was king rather than, even though it's doing well, a niche part of the market as it is now. For performers, the musicians, if their music's played on the radio, they get a payment when it's streamed, even though streaming's a bit like radio in that you don't always choose what you listen to. Actually, they don't get paid anything at all. And for songwriters, the share that was negotiated when streaming came in about a decade ago was far too small for the song, and songwriters are not getting paid enough. It's got a bit better, but as the percentage has gone up, I'm afraid the way the pool is cut up has not gone up in the same way, so they don't get paid as much as they should.
But the Competition and Markets Authority said there was no case for intervening. Does that mean you need to look outside of competition law if you want to address what you see as the issues?
Well, they did recognise there were competition issues, which is one of the things that we said on the Select Committee, but they didn't feel it met the threshold for intervention from the Competition and Markets Authority to have a full market investigation. I don't happen to agree with them on that, but that was the conclusion they came to after a relatively short inquiry. But yes, there are two approaches to this. One is that we need to make sure the industry itself is reforming. This is a relatively new way that people listen to music, but it is the dominant way, and we need to make sure that it's fit, for the 21st century and isn't being played by the 20th century's rules. And secondly, there is a role for government. Copyright law governs a lot of this, and in my view, there's a very strong case, and in the view of the Select Committee, to make sure that copyright law ensures that musicians actually get a guaranteed payment. Some people don't get paid anything at all, even though they've played on a record that's getting streamed millions of times.
I will certainly be streaming some ABBA on the way home after some of the tunes we've just been hearing. But the CMA did find, didn't it, that prices for consumers have fallen by 20%. And of course, many people stream for free if they agree to listen to advertising. This is benefiting fans, this change.
There's no doubt this is a fantastic technology, but you have to think about that for a minute. If there isn't any, a diminishing pool of money coming through ultimately for musicians, where's the next generation of musicians coming from? Where's the next Bjorn Ulvaeus going to come from? Where are the next talent going to come from? And as a country, we're one of the few countries in the world, in the UK, along with Sweden and the USA, who are net exporters of music. If we want that pipeline of talent to develop and come through, and to be able to make a living in the music industry, then we have to do something about this. And, I'm not talking about everybody who ever puts a record, onto a streaming service being able to make a living. But there are people out there, award-winning artists, people with, significant followings who simply can't get any money out of their recorded music at all. And, with what happened with COVID, what happened with Brexit and touring, for musicians, it's been a disaster area over the last few years. It's time the big corporations, your Spotifys and the big three record labels actually started sharing out the vast profits that are to be made out of music these days, and the revenues, in the case of Spotify, sharing them out more fairly with the people who actually make the music and create the product that they benefit from.
Kevin Brennan, thank you very much for joining us this morning. The UK government told us we're committed to ensuring that musicians and songwriters are paid fairly for their work. That's why the government is exploring issues relating to artist pay as part of our programme of work on music streaming.